afternoon, Mr. Jimenez, and thank you for having us in your office today to talk to you about, about tourism.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here in your show, and good afternoon as well.
Okay, and my first question to you is, let's talk about something a little bit about yourself, because a lot of our viewers don't know much about you. So would like to ask you about your challenges and your, in your way into getting into this position that you are in right now.
Well, thank you for that. You know what? I'm actually already liking this interview because no one's ever asked me that before. So just give you guys an idea on where I was and how I ended up becoming the tourism director here in the Philippine Department of Tourism in LA. You see, I've only started working for the Philippine Department of Tourism 3 years ago. I'm actually very fortunate that this is my first assignment here in LA, and but previous to that, I used to work for the U.S. Embassy in Manila, Philippines. That's where I spent 12 and a half years before I took the exam for the Foreign Service for the tourism directors with the Philippine Department of Tourism 3 years ago.
Wow, such an accomplishment. And what does it entail for you to get into the job that you're in right now?
Well, just like what you said, the Philippine Department of Tourism has now institutionalized its way of selecting their tourism attachés or tourism directors for overseas offices. 3 years ago, there was an exam conducted by the department, and I learned about this when I was at the U.S. Embassy, and I just felt it's worth the try and see if I can make it. And lucky enough, I was able to pass, and here I am.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
And you are serving this for 3 years, I believe.
That's correct. So I'm going to be here as the tourism director for 3 years. And what's interesting is that the Philippine Department of Tourism in LA, it's only one of 3 departments of tourism here in the U.S. There's one in New York and there's another one in San Francisco. But here in Los Angeles alone, we cover the whole U.S. Southwest, Hawaii, and the entire Latin America.
Wow.
So I'm really excited to be part of the team and be able to take on the challenge to bring more people from this side of the world to the Philippines.
So what projects do you have planned for the Filipino American community?
Well, we actually have a lot of different projects. Actually, one big project I would like to even welcome and tell people to join is the Ambassador's Tour. You see, this Ambassador's Tour is a project stemmed from the Department of Foreign Affairs, having the Department of Tourism as a supporter. Each year, we bring about 300 people to the Philippines, and I'm excited to say that this year, we're bringing not only 2 destinations, but we're actually giving 3 destinations. We're bringing people to Manila, Cebu, and Bohol. So it's happening in July, and this is an actual tour package. You're actually going to make the Philippines as a holiday destination of very minimal amount, or what we say fraction of a cost.
Wow, that's really amazing to hear. Nice to know.
Yes.
So what are your goals or priorities that you have during your term right now?
Well, it's like this. The Philippines receives the U.S. market. I mean, the U.S. market is our 3rd largest market that comes to the country. Number 1 is Korea. Well, the United States used to be number 2, but China has taken over, and that brings the U.S. market number 3. 4 is Japan, and number 5 is Australia. So of course, every year, just like in anything that you're selling, like for us here, we're selling the Philippines. You always have to continue coming up with great strategies and new projects in order for people to get interested with your product. So there are several other things that we do here in the Department of Tourism aside from joining trade shows and putting posters. We try to come up with activities that the community can actually be a part of. So for example, for the Filipino American community, we actually encourage the community to come up with creative ideas because again, I'm only going to be here for 3 years and you're the ones here who's part of the market, and you'd be able to tell us what are the different things that would really entice the American community. So you strongly encourage the community to let us know what's trending out there. What do you think that we need to come up with? What type of messaging is it that we need to bring out there in order for us to entice more people to make it and even convince people to come to the Philippines this time around. So we are just very happy that the Filipino community here in Los Angeles is very vibrant and very active, and I truly like how outspoken the Filipino community here is, because they'll really tell you up to you and say, you know what, this thing is not working. Maybe we can have to suggest doing something. So other things is we also encourage the Filipino community to create our own tour packages.
Okay.
So let's say some communities enjoy just playing golf. I encourage them, here's this. If you can actually drive a good number of people to come up with a tournament in the country, then let's make it as a tour package. We'd actually be happy to align you with the airlines. We'd be happy to align you with the tour consolidators and travel agencies that can come up with a tour package that can bring your group over. Of course, having us to support that will always actually make those trips more fun.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we're all actually amazed with all the things that you've said so far, and a lot planned for the Filipino American community. What are other offers that you have for the Filipinos and also the non-Filipinos who are traveling to the Philippines? I mean, aside from the beaches, we have amazing beaches in the Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
So would you like to tell our viewers about that as well?
Of course, yes. More than the beaches as the backdrop of a great holiday island destination, the Philippine Department of Tourism created what we call niche markets.
Mm-hmm.
We came up with different divisions in the headquarters that would actually focus on the different tourism packages or products that we can sell. Because selling the Philippines, it's actually difficult here in the US because it's not a one size fits all market. Not everybody goes to the beach, or not everybody goes to the mountains. So we actually offer an array of holiday destination activities. May it be cultural and heritage, culinary is one, lifestyle and leisure, and of course the water and the beach that we offer. So with over 7,000 islands that the Philippines has, there's over 7,000 reasons for you to make it to the Philippines. But one thing that I'm actually proud of saying is that there's about 60% of our tourist arrivals are repeaters. So that just says so much about the country. And among those people, most of them, if not all, would say more than the island destinations and more than the ease of movement and more than the convenience of having been able to speak in English in the Philippines, it's actually the people that actually drives our tourists and guests back into the country. Because just like what a former secretary said, he said that you speak to a Filipino for 5 minutes, you already gain a friend. You speak to a Filipino for 30 minutes, you might end up already becoming a godfather, mother to his son or daughter. So that's the impact that each of our Filipinos give our genuine hospitality that actually drives a lot more people come back to the Philippines.
That's really so true. And I know there are a lot of changes, in as the years go by or months go by. What are the changes that you've seen so far in terms of economy and, tourism and such?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like this. The Philippine Department of Tourism, we're really getting a lot of good media, because of our efforts. But the Philippine Department of Tourism does not stand alone in this effort. We actually rely on the support of the private sector as well. It's the private sector who are our ambassadors. I mean, the Filipino community here in LA, you are our ambassadors of the Philippines. You're the first go-to people. You're the frontliners of the mainstream Americans when they want to learn about the Philippines, about the Filipino food and all that. But in the past years, we've seen a tremendous growth, and it's steadily growing. We may have lost our second ranking for China as a foreign visitor arrival in the country, but our numbers from last year has still increased. So there may be speed bumps. There are definitely challenges along the way, but in the Philippines alone, what I'm actually happy to report about is that the Filipino people have already understood the value of working for tourism, because it actually brings back, it brings back investments and the rise of economy. I'm also allowed to even say that a person that comes to the Philippines for 10 days, who visits the Philippines for 10 days, actually provides a Filipino a job for a month. So that's how direct the impact of tourism is for the country. So you actually get to talk to students who study hotel and restaurant management in the Philippines right now. If you were to ask the same group of students who studied that 10 years ago or even more, they would tell you, oh, I'm taking this course because I want to work in Singapore, I want to go to the United States, I want to go to Hong Kong and, become a hotelier. But right now, when you talk to those students right now, if you ask them why it is that they're taking this, they would tell you, because I want to rebuild my grandmother's ancestral home and turn it into an Airbnb or a bed and breakfast. So everybody's more involved, and the Filipino community, I mean the Filipino nation, were more inclusive. So that's also something that our secretary right now, Secretary Wanda Teo, is doing. She actually wants the business of tourism, the business of everybody. She actually wants everybody included in this great phenomenon.
It's been such an interesting afternoon just talking to you, and we've learned a lot, very informative. Would you like to tell our viewers or invite them and convey any message for the Filipino American community right now?
Yes, thank you so much for the opportunity. So mga kababayan, for the Filipino community, I would really want to invite you all to come to the Philippines, whether you're visiting back or it's your first time. The Philippines has so much to offer. The Philippines remain to be a very safe destination. The Condé Nast Traveler, Travel and Leisure Magazine, National Geographic, they've been naming the Philippines and specific islands in the country as their top destinations. So it's about time that we ourselves, after we get back to our roots, rediscover and see why I've been gaining all this interest and strength among the people making it to the country. So come on over and let us actually tell you why it's really more fun in the Philippines.
Well, thank you so much for that, Mr. Jimenez. And we do wish you luck in your term, and looking forward to those projects that you have for the Filipino American community.
Thank you so much. I mean, it's really a pleasure meeting you, and I really appreciate the support of the media. Because again, our coverage here is not only in LA, and I know the reach of Manila Up. You cover a wide range of demographics, so I truly appreciate you coming over today and giving me this opportunity to be with you.
You're most welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.